Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Maisie and let's just jump into this video. Today we're going to be talking about one of the subjects that is closest to my heart and my own experience, and that is the disability known as cerebral palsy. I just wanted to make this video because I feel that this is one of the most misunderstood yet under the radar disabilities that are out there. You don't really hear much about it, and if you do, it's only a brief mention. So I just wanted to get some stuff out there. So what is cerebral palsy? It is a blanket term that describes and affects body movement, muscle control, muscle coordination, muscle tone, reflex, posture, balance. It can also impair motor skills, motor functioning and or speech. It is the result of a brain injury or brain malformation, and it is usually diagnosed from birth, although some can acquire the disability later in life. But cerebral palsy is not just this medical term. It is something that deeply affects people, not just in their walking, but in their whole entire life. And seeing the media not portray that sort of way of how we live, and not really seeing myself represented or included in media. I think I really thought about it as I was growing up because I was content with what I had. But as we discover more and more people dealing with this, I think for a young girl or boy or person growing up, seeing themselves in some sort of positive light will help their self-esteem when they're growing up, and not only help them but help other people so they can have a network of people who they can rely on. Because it's important for people to understand, or at least try to understand, that we may walk different, we may live differently, but underneath we want the same thing as everyone else, and that is to be accepted. And when you are denied that acceptance because people don't know or are too scared to reach out, that makes you feel incredibly isolated, and it's a really disheartening feeling to have, to be this one person in this class that no one wants to talk to or no one wants to befriend because they don't know how to befriend. I think that even though people don't know about it, they may say, well, I don't need to know about it because I'm fine. You do need to learn, you do need to grow and sort of think things out for yourself, because it's not going to get any better. This disability affects the whole individual's life. There is no going back at it, there is no curing it. There is just making sure that you live to the fullest of your ability. And yes, I am quite lucky because my parents did invest a lot of money in surgeries for my legs so I can walk. But still, it doesn't erase the years I'm struggling and having to push past a lot of guilt and heartache and pain to get to the point where I am. And to go through that journey relatively burnt out from having to pick up the pieces when really I shouldn't have had to pick up the pieces that young, just sort of shaped my worldview into something that was really, really negative. And later on in life, I did have positive experiences, but to go through this as a kid, it's extremely confronting because you are told from a young age that this is what you are, this is how you're defined as. And that label doesn't go away. As you go through life, the label is only increased. And it makes itself known more or less throughout high school, because that is when labels are at their best. That is when everyone is put into a box and no one's allowed to be more than what surface level interpretations are. And it's extremely difficult as a young person to grow up in that sort of environment where you are defined solely by something that you literally did not ask to be a part of. And it saddens me that a lot more people don't know about this, because it is incredibly powerful. The weight of knowing that you have to do all this stuff, knowing that you can never really be normal, the knowledge just, it's like a weight that's constantly on your shoulders, and it's not something that I particularly would wish upon my worst enemy. I would never wish for someone to have to grow up with this, because it's confronting, but it's also something that I think many people are not thankful, but that they got it, but it just helps them empathy for other people who are going through the same thing. Knowing that you are different and knowing that you are born into the world that does not accommodate you whatsoever, and having to carve yourself out a life out of something that when you were younger you think is just so broken and so irreparable, is not something that I thought I would ever have to go through, but I had to go through it, because what other alternative is there when everyone's looking for you to get better and get better fast and just walk and be happy, and you can't because you're struggling so much with trying to fit in a place where you don't fit in at all. It sort of is just this spiral of these emotions that you can't quite place. And that's something that I particularly think that more people need to be aware of. And I'm happy that more authors and more TV shows are coming to include people with disabilities in a position of power or a position where they are respected. But at the same time, each person's journey is not the same. And if you can't find a person like you in media, you start looking for someone who's not like you in looks or body build or disability, but you start to find characters that identify with your beliefs and your personality. I love Belle from Beauty and the Beast. She is one of my favourite characters of all time, as proof by the giant picture up on my bookshelf back here. But she doesn't wear glasses. The only really similarity we have is that she's got brown hair and hazily green eyes, like me, and she likes to read. But that one character out of a whole slew of characters in my childhood is the most that I relate to. Gave me some semblance of belonging, and that is important to a child, because it shows that you aren't so different, and that you, just because you have something that makes you walk funny or makes you speak funny or makes you act funny that you can't control and that you never wished you had, is incredibly powerful. It gives you comfort, it gives you strength, it gives you a reason to sort of believe that the world can get better. I guess throughout this whole video up, I just wanted to give you a bit of insight into what it's like living with cerebral palsy and just this whole thing, because lately I've been feeling like this needs to be talked about and this needs to be addressed, because I am liking that more and more authors are taking the disability route, but I would like readers to know that maybe some day in the future there will be a character that represents us properly and fully and represents the experience. But right now, if you can find characters that make you feel like you belong in that certain place, I think that's great. Thank you for watching this video. As always, like, favorite and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.